my mantra every morning before my feet hit the floor, I say, money flows to me easily and abundantly. And I say that. It doesn't mean that I don't go work my ass off. It doesn't mean that I don't follow up. It doesn't mean that I think everything's just going to come to me. But the right things will align.
Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. This is the show where we highlight the top performing agents in Northeast Florida, those who are raising the standard and driving real results across Jacksonville, St. Augustine, Nocatee, and beyond. Today's guest brings a unique mix of heart, hustle, and high-level service to the real estate industry with a background in psychology and a career built on relationships. She has quickly earned a reputation for transparency, tech-savvy marketing, and deep community roots, whether guiding first-time buyers or maximizing ROI for sellers. She's laser focused on delivering a smooth, stress-free experience. Her insight into client behavior, her advanced use of social media, and her commitment to excellence have positioned her as one of the most trusted names in the market. Let's welcome Robyn McIntosh to the show.
Wow.
Thank
you. That was wonderful.
Appreciate you coming down. And the more, obviously I saw your numbers for 25, which were great. And then obviously, I told you, I always go into LinkedIn and look at everyone's history. I'm like, oh, this is good. Because I think, obviously, new construction, yes. You've worked on that side of the game. And hopefully our conversation will lead a little bit. And obviously, now you're not working for the builder anymore, looking back in and hopefully advising some of these agents, as well as our buyers out there. You need to have your eyes wide open when you're coming into new construction.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm very, very thankful for my experience with new construction. I have nothing but great things
I'm going to have you grab that mic.
Okay,
yeah, pull that right up. This like I apologize. I didn't set that up right. Go ahead.
Okay. Just for the experience I had, for all the knowledge I've gained, and taking it to this side, taking it to the general side of real estate, right? I was fortunate to have a couple years in general before I went to the builder. And then I spent a lot of time, in different areas, mainly focusing my last several years on the active adult communities. But I think a lot of the perception is that whenever you're going into new construction, you're covered right by them.
Right.
And it's not that they're out to do well for you, right? They're not against you. They're on your side. But why not have a trusted advisor with you to walk you through everything that you don't know, educating?
Well, we could surely go back and forth. And the stories we know are only a few because we don't know all the stories. Mm-hmm. And there's no doubt. Yeah, I mean, obviously, their reputation, like anybody building a product, they want to do well.
Right.
But as you and I know, there's so many hands involved in building a house. And then you've got, the story I got. I mean, you've got people that are sitting in an office that never been out to the dirt, and they designed this house. It's supposed to go on this dirt, and they've turned it the wrong way. The buyers wanted it turned this way, and that model was turned that way. And now they face the neighbor's side of the house versus the retention pond or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And who is even, okay, so that's like a very good example, and that's all going to show you, like, each builder has the lot fit book, where your home's sitting, what position it's going to be. And then, you're signing off on that in your contract. But once it goes to permitting and comes back, what if some adjustments were made that you didn't realize?
Right.
You need to catch that before the slab is poured, before the sticks are in, like anything.
Exactly.
So those are all very valid points. And also with new construction, think about, like, in the resale world, how, if I'm working with you on a loan, how much we're communicating, like how available you are to me.
Right.
With a national builder, they don't mean to not be available, right? But they're like, for me, for example, I built a house over the summer and my loan officer was in Colorado. So we were on different time schedules.
Right.
We weren't connecting. And then when you think about new construction as a whole, and you have the sales area, you have the builder, you have the title company, you have the mortgage company, and do you think they're all talking every day?
Exactly. Well, because it's a drawn out process. If you're not buying a spec home, you're actually having it built from the ground up.
Right.
I mean, it could be 6-8 months. It could be they're going. I don't know what is the length of time now. I know at times they were going as much as 18 months.
Yeah.
Back a few years ago.
Yeah,
but
I'm seeing more of the 6 to 8 months now. Like they're knocking them out. It's going very well, but it's a lot longer than 45 to 60 days.
Yeah.
So
100%. Well, just the other thing, I mean, since we're on this subject, and I think it's important in this talking about this segment, having been on the inside, you're on the outside, you know of the horror stories that happen. Having an inspector through the process. If you have a buyer right now who wants new construction, are you recommending a home inspector to go in there and inspect during certain segments of the build?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. So it's one thing, like during construction phases, I've had people choose both sides. So I can use myself as an example, right? So I've had people who do have everything inspected, the slab before dry, everything inspected. I always recommend, like, once you're at the drywall, like once before we go into drywall, get someone in there, right? Because we can see everything.
Right.
We can see everything. Let's get someone in there then, and then get someone in at the end. And builders aren't combative about it. Like, they understand that. So I always suggest an outside inspector.
Yeah. The one story that sticks in my mind, Austin Gray Home Inspections, he shared with me, there was a subdivision and it was consistently happening, why the quality control wasn't there, but the tube for the toilet to the shower were too close together. So when they actually got in the bathroom to put those things in, they're like, we can't fit these things in here because these things are too close together. So they had to drill and, crack up the slab to move the pipes back out. And it's like, I don't know, maybe it has zero effect on the integrity of it, but that's your new home that you're paying all that money for. Why didn't they take 10 minutes to make sure those plant, and I mean, it's little things like that going on. I had another one where, for whatever reason, they did not put the AC drain pipe down into the slab and out the side of the house. So they had to go basically post-construction, put the AC drain, go up to the second floor and out and down, and had to put a pump in there. I'm thinking, what if the pump goes out and you don't know? Now, it's not going to probably flood tomorrow, but you get a hot summer day. If you all of a sudden that moisture starts building up in there in the water, and all of a sudden now you might have got a leak in your roof, whatever. Right. It happens.
It happens, and then when you do your walkthrough with a builder, we're not Superman. We're not, like, I myself, like, I'm not going to tell you, don't have an outside inspector. And then I'm not going to go climb through your attic and, test all the pressures and run your dishwasher and run everything. Because,
make sure that it's the right amount of insulation that's supposed to be in there, because that happens too.
That happens too, yeah. and I'm a prime example. On my house, the day before closing, I had to get an entire new AC unit. Every time I went to the house, it was leaking out into the garage. From the pipe.
Right.
And it's not a fault to the builder. It's not a fault to the construction, because think about when we were building during COVID. Think about that time when everything was like going. And there were so many mishaps. And then you got to the point too where you couldn't find a trade to even come help.
Right.
You couldn't find anything. And so with that, I think it all boils down to, like, having grace for human error, right? You don't need an inspector because this is a bad builder. You need an inspector just to cover everything. Yeah. Just to have a second
I
opinion.
personally think every home builder should have their own internal inspector as a quality control person.
Yeah.
I think it would save them a lot of money, and he'd pay for his job tenfold on the back end.
Right.
With the amount of homes that some of these builders are doing.
Yeah, because they're very, the builders that I work with, they're very open, right, when it comes to the inspection report, and they usually are calling all the trades out to knock out what's on the punch list. And that's wonderful. But like you're saying, they're paying those trades to come back out each time. Yeah,
another bill they're going to get. Yeah. All right, so we kicked off with a top subject, but let's get a little bit to know who you are. Where is Robyn from?
I'm from Indiana.
So, young Robyn, what were you visualizing as a career for you? You're 18, 19, 20 years old. At that time, what did you visualize yourself doing?
So I always thought I was going to be in the medical field. I really thought that. I thought I was going to be in the medical field, but my entire family was like a State Farm family. So I moved down here and worked for State Farm. So that was what I was doing. And it's funny because, it was funny the way the path leads you. I worked for State Farm, and I was a service to others. I was in catastrophe claims. People had lost everything, very emotional position. But I was not out in the field. I was doing it from the cubicle. And I was like, I don't know, I'm just not feeling it. Like, I'm here, but I'm not feeling it. And then
I've been there. I worked the first 12 years, or if maybe 14 years of my career was in a call center. Now, a good part of it was actually working from home, but I had a headset on, talking to people on the phone all the time. And after so many years of doing that, you're like, I need to get out and see some people.
Like these fluorescent lights.
I've got a lot of experience now. I can take that out on the road. Yeah.
So my position, they were closing the office here, which was right around the corner. And I was either going to have to move to Dallas or Atlanta if I wanted to stay in my field. And my husband is born and raised here, so that was not an option. So it opened up for me to do something else.
Did they even talk to you about possibly opening your own store and being on the retail side of?
No. I have a family friend who we're very close to who has her own agency. She retired recently, but I kind of knew that's what I didn't want to do.
You didn't want to be in that,
Yeah, I didn't want to be.
Well, that's interesting, but now you're in real estate and you are forward-facing. And a lot of things you do as a real estate agent, I would imagine, an insurance agent, getting out there, going networking and so forth, is a lot of things that they do to gather up business.
Yeah, now I have to memorize contracts versus homeowner policies.
Yeah, right.
Insurance stuff.
Well, when I saw the State Farm on that, I'm like, oh, this is a great topic for someone that has the mindset of that industry of insurance and what's going on right now. And I would imagine a lot of your knowledge when it comes to insurance, you're helping share with these buyers, especially ones coming out of state, have never owned a home in Florida, and how the insurance works here versus, the typical state. Because in Indiana, I imagine you went down to the State Farm agency and they did everything for you.
Yeah.
Home, audio, and everything, where it's not like that here in Florida. Tell us a little bit, of your knowledge back there. What's some of the important things that you think homeowners should know about insurance and coming to Florida?
Well, I think it's important to just make sure you're educating yourself on all areas of it. I can give what I feel is my experience with it, but I still think just like inspectors, going back to that, I always give 3 people that I would recommend because a lot of clientele that I work with are still with the big names, they're still bundling and they're still doing that. So if that works best for you down here, then yes, but just make sure that you're really reading into what everyone's offering, right? Because the builder is going to offer you insurance if you're building new construction.
Right.
They have their own umbrella, and then just shopping around too, because maybe it's time to take a step back from the big names and see what the smaller mom and pops can offer you.
Right.
And, so just...
Well, I think again, in Indiana, if you're a State Farm agent, you only sell State Farm insurance. Here, that State Farm agent is looking at other agencies as far as homeowners insurance is concerned across the board. And just an FYI, kind of common sense, but we don't want to assume everybody knows. Having been in the business and then being approached internally by someone's internal title company or internal insurance, that's just, to me, it is someone's brother-in-law that actually, they've pulled in the umbrella, and whatever agreement they have between them, and they're hopefully going to get some referrals out of it. Whatever the benefit is, I don't know, if any, other than convenience. I don't know. That's something, but don't think because the builder's recommending this insurance person, it's the most knowledgeable individual out there.
They can have a relationship.
Yeah,
we don't know about.
Well, and sometimes the relationship is not a big deal because the insurance has still got to be competitive. But what is their knowledge, right? What is their experience? I tell anyone, if you want me to refer you insurance, you've got to get on the phone with that seller and it go through the policy. That's your lane. I don't know anything about insurance, but if I'll refer you if you get on the phone with them and don't just sell them, it's this much a month. Versus what's
how embarrassing is that though with referrals, right? With partnerships that you create and then the lack of communication or
yeah. And just doing, I mean, it's simple. I think obviously everyone has to have insurance, and the fact that I think if you take 10, 15 minutes and go through, this is where you should put your deductible, explain the hurricane, whatever, and you should win that every time. Yeah. It is a lay down because it is a super competitive industry, insurance. Yeah, you're doing a lot of listings. Let's take the insurance over to those listings. Oh, man. Because I've had a few deals fall on it. I had actually one, I don't think they actually went with it, but the client that working with, now he said he settled on a different home, but he had two homes he was looking at a week ago. And I mean, one had a roof that was well over 20 years. Yeah. So when you're going into that listing appointment, how are you breaking down? Because you have an insurance mind a little bit on what's, foreseeing the future. How do you set them up for success?
Well, so it definitely, like when it comes for the example of roof replacement, like if you're at pretty much life expectancy of those shingles, and if, an inspector is getting up there and all the granulars are lost and, you're showing this, then let's talk about that now, because I do set the expectation during the listing appointment with the age of the home that these things could show up. And then what is going to be your response? Like, do you care or do you not care? Because that's something that we need to know when we list your house. You never want, because if it's going to come up that partial or full roof replacement is recommended, what is your rebuttal on that? Like, are you okay with that? Right. Like, are you okay submitting an insurance claim? Like, what's your thought process? Because some people, it may click where they're saying, yeah, you know what, you're right. And in the same realm, they wouldn't want to go buy a house that has the same thing going on, Well, I believe a lot of agents with, obviously don't have your experience in the volume that you're doing, especially on the listing side, or actually playing the chess game of, hey, your roof is 20 years old. They're going to find that out. They're going to have an inspection done. They call the insurance company. They're going to look the last time a permit was pulled, if any, on that house. So they're going to know very quickly. The challenge is those things happen after you sign a contract. And now you have that buyer who you're like, oh, great, we got somebody, they made an offer, we accepted it, yeah, we're all excited. Now all of a sudden, because you tried to sidestep the roof situation being 20 years old, and they only have limited companies that will do insurance. The inspector's saying you got a 20-year-old roof. Maybe it's still good. Obviously, I'm sure there's a lot of roofs out there that the same owners had for 25 years and no leaks, nothing. Everything's great, right? So, but the insurance is looking at that date. They're going, 20 years old, yeah, you can pay this for insurance, get Citizens or whatever, and pay this amount, or you can have the roof replaced and pay this amount. So that buyer is going, immediately now has to jump off the hook. Or now you start a negotiation versus maybe if we figured out a way to replace the roof before we properly sell it, so we don't lose as much, out of there. Yeah, and I agree with that. I think too, when you because that can definitely be an option with the sellers. Like, do you want to take care of it before you go live, before we start to market everything? But then you turn into having the conversation of, okay, but know that this is not going to increase your selling price by $20,000. Right. Yeah, you're not going to get a dollar for dollar return. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's the other conversation to have with it. But yeah. Well, it could be the other way around. Obviously, you're going in there, you're comping the house out. Hey, it's worth $500,000. We spent $20,000 on the roof. It's still going to sell for $500,000. Maybe. If you don't replace the roof, the first thing they're going to ask for is roof replacement. Now you're really selling it for $480.
maybe they come back, lower or somewhere. I guess the point I want to get across is why not take the bull by the horns and control it from the beginning?
Oh, yeah.
And now maybe you do go, hey, let's see if they say anything or what they come back with. We already know it's there, so we're prepared. We know what this is what we're going to do when they do come back, so you're in control. Where I think a lot of people actually, I was surprised. I mean, how old is this? I think it was like 25 years old, to be honest with you. I think it's, I was like, whoa. Every real estate agent in town knows that crossing over 10 years right now on a roof, you're going to be in some sort of negotiation, let alone a 25-year-old roof.
Yeah.
They need to have, what's their plan? Because they should have had a plan already.
Right. And is everyone having those conversations?
Yes. Yeah. Being the professional up front and knowing that way. And now, what are the other things? Water heaters are another hot topic right now. What is the guideline on that right now? Have you had that? I haven't had that come up much. I mean, is it still about a 10-year?
It's still like around 10 to 13, I think. But water heater isn't as gut punch as an AC or a roof.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but just always, again, like this conversation right now, and it's been years since I worked for State Farm, but it's just being educated. You don't have to have an insurance background to know that all these things should be discussed. Whether you're talking with, whether you're at a listing appointment or whether you're with buyers. Like when you go into a house, you don't need to just be looking at the aesthetics of the house. You need to be like looking, okay, well, let me pull these permits. This is when this was done. Let's go look at the date on the AC unit. Let's look at the date on the water heater. All those things are part of it.
Well, I think there's this gap right now that people don't realize that insurance companies, obviously they're for-profit companies, they're leveraging technology as much as anybody else. And they will find out. Their job is to find out. Their job is to know how old that hot water heater is, because you got to pull permits, which makes it easy for them. They can look at county records, permits on this house. They have technology that's pulling that like that, and that insurance agent knows right away. So, I think I've mentioned it before. The agent or the buyer, have your insurance agent, because how important is it to have an insurance agent now up front versus like, hey, we're closing next week. Go get insurance. Yeah.
No, even like with properties that need work, like if you're going into a home that needs something, like before we even put in an offer, I'm saying let's get some agents on the phone. If you're looking for someone new down here,
right? Let's
talk to some people beforehand.
Well, it could help you more strategically make the offer. Yeah. The insurance agent tells you that this is old and this is old. So when you make the offer, you're going, well, I'm offering this because the hot water heater, whatever, I'll pay you that, but you need to do this to get it.
Right.
Yeah, and strategically going in and setting those. To me, as fast as that insurance agent is getting it, the agent should be getting that same information, so they are able to go into their, because obviously I think one of the most disappointing things that can happen, besides a friend using a different realtor, is you go and you work, you find them that home, you make the offer, and then the deal falls out for whatever reason. That is the most, and I would say in the top three things that you guys, real estate agents, hate, right? Because the emotions and the stress of that. Yeah. So being prepared is key. All right, and I think it was roughly about 4 years or so you were working with State Farm here in Jacksonville. They're moving their, I assume the office that what your office was doing. They're moving that. Yes. All right. So what you go into real estate, what led you to that?
I didn't even go into real estate.
Oh.
So, yeah. My husband and I actually met someone who was in nuclear medicine, right? Remember the medical background?
Yes,
I was always going to be in medical.
Yeah.
So this gentleman was telling me about a nuclear medicine program and how, we select 6 candidates for it, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, this sounds amazing. I need to go shadow. So I went and shadowed that, and I took a year and a half going back to school to get all my, science, nursing, those types of classes done. And I was accepted into the program.
Okay.
So this was like pretty much 2 years of working. Went to my orientation, and then a week before the program started, the hospital had budget cuts.
Oh,
so that was out of the question. So that's when we had like a brainstorm session, like a come to Jesus.
Were you out of pocket all the money, or were they put? Yeah.
So my husband and I, we sat down and we're like, okay, how can I be of service to someone? Like problem solving skills and just be out in the community. Like what is something? And that's when we came up with real estate. And I was like, I love everything homes. I love everything like, with my insurance background, like I have knowledge of that. And then I love everything. I just love everything about the process, and I love everything about homes and the different things that they offer. And so I got into it then.
Well, you've said service, I think, twice now, at least in our conversation so far. And what does that mean to you?
I like to be a voice of reason. So when I say like be of service to someone, I mean, how can I come in and make this go more smoothly for you? How can I answer questions that you have? How can I make it to where you feel like you're receiving all the answers you need, the communication's there, the expectations are met, just because it's such an emotional process, right? And it's such an emotional process whether you're buying or selling, but the education part comes in on educating your buyers or sellers, and it sounds contradicting, but taking the emotion out of it, right? You need to help them see everything through. But you're doing it in a way that comforts them through the stressful time that it is. Yeah. And I think, too, like with my experience at State Farm, those people had lost everything. We all have like family members who may have had may have a sore spot from their experience with home buying or selling. I see, my husband works for JSO. He's been with them since 2009, and his job, I see what he does. He's of service to our community, but life's hard. Life's hard, and I don't like to think that anyone or anything should have like an easy way, and we all have our own struggles. So if selling a home is the most emotional thing you're going to face in your life, then that's wonderful. Let me help you through it. Because there's a lot of hard things. I think there's one thing out there, with all the technology in the world, and I don't know, I saw another reel this morning. Someone said, oh, you're not going to be replaced by AI, but someone who uses AI. If you have the service mindset that you have, there is something out there for you. It might be the service of teaching people how to leverage AI, but it's a service that you're sharing your knowledge, your expertise in guiding someone through a process that they might have been able to do it themselves. We know many people bought a house or sold a house themselves, but how painful was it? And to bring a real estate agent in with the service mindset that you're talking about there is important. Okay, so real estate's a choice. You just jump in and go take the course. What goes on? I always preach Azortide Realty. They're like in the state of Florida. You do everything online. I just took the course online. And went and took my test. I was fine. I think I missed like one or two. And then I did go through the 2-week Watson course because I felt like that was a good exposure. And now, because did you know where? I mean, you got your license now, but and of course we know as soon as you go in and apply to even that you're going to take the test, brokers will start trying to contact you. So they're calling you. I don't, I wish I could remember. I think so his name was John, and he was at Beach and Hodges, Watson. And I think I knew I wanted to be in that area. I loved like all the homes there and the zip codes that we serviced. And then I only met with him. I'm easily convinced. I guess. So if you've listened to any episode, this is a topic I always bring up because I truly believe, and it's going to be in my book, how important the choice of the broker is. Now, some people can go anywhere. We know that. There's some people that are they're going to figure it out no matter who they're with or if anyone at all, really. I mean, so they can just be working at home and work for one of the cloud brokerages, as we call them, right? And don't really need, or others need a lot of structure. And it's important for them to have an office. They like it so they can feel like they're going to work, which they are, but it's your business. You're going into that office. So finding out who you are, but then also having that broker who is hopefully out in front
letting you know the pitfalls that are coming and how to
Yeah.
guide through them, and obviously, how fast your knowledge level and your learning curve, get you over that. So when you went there, knowing what you know now, we're 2026, looking back on what is this, like 2017, something like that, right?
16, 17.
Yeah. Was it necessarily, or would you have done something different? Would you have gone and
absolutely.
talked to other brokerages?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not. So, and like you're saying, it's whatever meets your needs. Like, what's your cup of tea? Because mine is not competition whatsoever. Like, as soon as anyone's going to come tell me, oh, I have this sales agent that does this, you can do this, and what are you doing here? I'm
Right.
curtains closed.
Or you go to the sales meeting and they're putting up everybody's numbers and putting that's not the atmosphere.
And I will say, like, we do have numbers at our meeting, but it's all in good. It's all in genuine relationship. We're all happy for each other.
Right. And it is sales, so you kind of have to,
Yeah.
like, give acknowledgement to those who have done well.
You give acknowledgement, but you don't, like, throw it in anyone's face.
Right.
So I would have definitely made a different decision then, and I would have talked to other people. I've had brokers who didn't respond to an email for 3 weeks.
That's
It
telling
all
you something.
depends. Like,
Right.
you've had Corey on here.
Yeah.
I think the world of him. Like, my thing with Corey, I'm like, how the hell do you answer your phone? If you call him, he answers. If you text him, he's texting you back within a minute.
Right.
So it's just like, and that's all I need. I just need communication. And I don't care if he tells me, like, he doesn't know what the answer to my question is, which he's never done, but he's available.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think people get too stuck on what the next person's doing, right? Because I don't care what my broker, what he does in his office. I don't care what he drives. I don't care what he wears. I don't care about any of those things because it has nothing to do with me.
Right.
And people get stuck too on the commission, like on the splits.
Right.
Because you're in a transaction, you're getting paid, and someone's going to get paid off of you. And that's the end of the story. Like, if you're so stuck on paying someone a split, then you should go to the transaction based, if it's $250 or whatever it is, transaction. And maybe that's a good fit for you.
Right.
But you probably won't have your meetings and you won't have the,
Well, I mean, that's the one unique thing about the business is, finding that broker. Corey's got, marketing people and support staff for you in-house. That's, that's what you're paying for in your split. And, my wife works for Compass, and she just said literally last night, which I assume has a similar model because they're kind of in the same family, from what I understand, whoever owns the mothership or whatever, right? And the resources that she has, the people that she can rely on, because she is, those things cost money. Yeah. So it wasn't so much the split. She saw it as, I'm going to invest here because I want to move my needle here.
Oh, yeah.
And am I going to make a little bit less than the brokerage she was actually moving for? Yes, but she obviously saw value in what they were pitching her. And I think you're right. It's really, if you are just chasing the split. Now, maybe you've been in the business 20 years. You've got all referrals or whatever. You have more knowledge, just as much knowledge as the broker does. So they're not really going to necessarily move it for you. But there's people there at Christie's with Corey that are high level and have been for some time, but still stay there.
Still stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at Paige.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, too, it's the communication.
Paige needs to come on the show. Just want to let you know. If you're friends with Paige, you need to tell her she needs to come on the show. She's been holding out for me for 5 years now.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, just
Paige.
saying.
Love Paige.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'll come on. But yeah, I can't thank enough the support that I get from them because whoever I need, like I said, they're answering the phone. I have Brooke Hicks as my transaction coordinator. She's amazing. I mean, she looks at everything I do. She's right there with me along the way. She's double checking everything. And it's important.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah. Because when you reach a certain level in volume, if you're trying to do it all yourself, you're going to things are going to fall off the edge of the table.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The biggest thing
Unless
is
you're
one
like
is follow-up. But
follow-up. But even the most experienced people, like you're saying, the people who have been in 20 years and work strictly off of referrals, it's still a lot of background work.
Yeah.
It's still a lot of background work that you could just take a little bit of a cut and have, so it's all stress related too, like what you want to handle.
I'm going to quit because this thought just came to my head. If you maybe you have some debt and so forth and you get into real estate and you're like, you know what, I need to make as much money because I need to pay for my kids' college or I need to do this. So you're going to work not only your job as a real estate agent, but you're going to do all this operational stuff on the backside too, because that's your part-time job.
Yeah.
You're thinking you're saving yourself money versus, and I'm sure you reached this point, I call it the tipping point, or you reached a lid where you're like, oh my God, I don't even have a peace of mind to sit down and have dinner with my family or whatever because I'm overwhelmed. I need to leverage someone else, which might cost me a little bit, but it's going to allow me to spend even that much more time with my clients who are hopefully my referrals and so forth in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a VPK 5-year-old and a 21-month-old little girl who's a home baby, and I need all the help I can get. Like I tell everyone, like I have mom brain. Like it's a real thing. I forget stuff. So just
my wife says the same thing.
Just to have people checking up on you and cross your T's, dot your I's, right?
Well, you come to a point too. You're having so many conversations, and a lot of conversations are similar. And you're like, okay, did I have that conversation with that person yet? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What did I say to them? I haven't talked to them in a week, so what was the last, and you've had so many new conversations in the meantime. But, and it just goes up to follow up. But back to the splits, that's what it really comes down to. Yeah. You see value in it. You're getting value in it because Corey's a great broker. And if someone might be at another brokerage who's paying similar split, but they're not getting the value, they may want to have a conversation with Corey or search out another broker that understands. Because I do believe, go back to the service term that you have used for yourself, Corey sees that as his job is to serve all of his agents.
Yes, very much so. And if you're thinking about it, he will answer his phone if you call him.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Well, I think people discount, if you really sit down and think about it, go, hey, when I message someone, even though I don't necessarily need a response like within a minute or two, I could go a half an hour or a few hours to get a response because it's not really urgent. But when someone responds right away, they're kicking the ball back to you. Yeah. But now you have your answer. You have your peace of mind. You go, you know what the next step is because you're asking, hey, I don't know what the next step is. Oh, do this. Okay, boom. Now you already are headed in that direction. Right. So you're well down the path, way ahead of everybody else because that person you needed to make that bridge answered so quickly. Yep. Or, within a reasonable period of time. Yep. I mean, I had Sarah Schwartz on, and I think one of the quotes we took out of her show last week was just answering the phone. I mean, obviously as a real estate agent, someone calls, just answering the phone will get you business. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a lady who called me yesterday and I was at an appointment and I didn't answer the phone because it was a spam risk. And I thought, well, they'll leave me a voicemail. Well, she didn't leave a voicemail, but she called me back on the way here, and it was to list her property. So I'm going on Saturday. But that goes to show you, like, even the spam risk, you gotta answer. You can hang up on them.
If it comes up with someone's name, if someone's name is there, I'll answer it. If there's no name, I'm sending it to voice. I probably got 20 yesterday. 20 spam calls. Yeah.
Well, and in our field too, it's like half of them are people trying to sell you something. Insurance.
Oh yeah, that too. I do like the new thing now because I'll get the text message for the health insurance, and you can just say click spam, so it just kind of like automatically blocks it for you. Yeah. So you don't hopefully get the text message from them again.
I still get them.
All right.
They still do that to me.
So you're with Watson's for a little bit. But you decide to jump over to the builder world and go with Pulte.
Yeah.
What happens there? What transacts you to jump on to the dark side, as I know some of you agents probably call it?
I think then the dark side, or the golden handcuffs, right? That's what they call it. I think then it was, looking back, right, I should have probably looked around at different brokerages, interviewed with other people, but I saw well, I could do what I'm doing, which I love, and I had a great experience. I have a first-time home sales story that would blow your mind. But I loved what I was doing. I was successful at what I was doing, but I thought this could be a little bit more structured, and then I could get some exposure into the process.
Well, what were your numbers at this point? You felt you could do better, but you just didn't know quite how?
Yeah. I think my first year, I think I had like nine, and that was just me not having anything,
right.
So I was like, I can build. And that was my same vision when I left Pulte, was just, okay, well, each year, double your volume. Like, it's not going to come the first year. So just each year double. And I've done that. Each year I double. And I want to double this year. And then I'm going to, I think that'll be a sweet spot for me.
Sweet spot. We'll roll at 30 million, 35 million. Yeah.
I think that's a sweet spot. I would probably even being by myself now, I would probably stop at the 25, but aim high. So yeah, I got on with Pulte. It was a great experience. I'm still friends with my Pulte sales agents to this day. I'm grateful for the management team. I still work with them to this day. I have listings from them, and what better compliment. I've had people come up to me and say, how'd you get a new construction listing? You're so lucky. And I'm like, lucky? That's like blood, sweat, and tears, honey.
Yeah.
I put in work there,
Yeah.
So, and there's no better compliment than for them to reach out to me to help them.
Right.
So it was smooth. I had my son with them. And when my son was turning 2, my husband's job is very demanding. And my son was getting into sports. He's a big sports kid. And so my husband was like, how do you feel about trying general again?
Right.
Just to have a little bit more flexibility in your schedule, which I don't. I work every weekend. But it's my schedule. Now I am able to do drop off and pick up.
Right.
Those little things that help.
You're not stuck in the model at a subdivision that might be on the other side of town for,
Could be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it was a great experience, and I'm thankful for everything I learned. I think it made me a much better advisor.
That's why I wanted to pull it out earlier in the show. To share what you know from being on that side and coming out. I think more agents probably need to, as we know, top agents generally have some friends in the site agent world. To pick their brain. How can they be a better new home sale? To prep the home type of thing. So you decide you're going to leave Pulte. Do you go into what? Now you have some knowledge. You technically been in the real estate business about 6-7 years now at that point. And now you know what you know. How do you choose what brokerage? And obviously you end up at Engel & Volker's now, Christie's. What was your evaluation? What were you in those interviews with the brokerages? What were you looking for?
So I actually did not end up with Engel & Volker's off the rip.
Okay.
I ended up with Remax, and I never really spoke with the brokerage. Because
so you did the same thing you did.
Well, the reason why I went there was because I went with the team.
Okay.
So over the years of selling Pulte,
the Southern Latitude.
Friends with the Southern Latitude
okay,
team
because I knew you flashed up somewhere, and
Yeah.
I think it might be on your Instagram or something, Southern Latitude. But when I went to their website, you're not on there, and I'm like, okay, well, what's going on? So that explains that.
Yes.
Okay.
So I knew I'd talked with Brian and Josh and Roger at the time. Me and Brian had went to lunch, and I said, hey, I'm thinking about stepping aside from new construction and coming back into general. And I knew them because I worked with them so closely. They're relevant in the 55 plus communities. They're partners with agencies. So I knew that's what I wanted to do. There was no point in going anywhere else. And he even said well, have you talked to people? And no, I know you guys, and this will be a good foot.
Well, you had a chance to see them in their real world over time versus a half an hour conversation with a broker you never met until you walked in the room, right? Yeah.
Right. So I just went with them, and it was fine. We were at Remax Unlimited, and we were there, oddly enough. I left Pulte in October. I joined them, and that July I wound up pregnant. My daughter is such a blessing, but somehow that happened. And so I have horrible pregnancies. I'm talking about like trash bags in the car every time I turn. Blah. It was awful. So my first part of the year started off pretty slow. But again, like we would meet and I just said, okay, you know, I'm here. This is what I'm doing. I'm not leaving real estate. Like it was a little rough there, but I'm just going to double my production each year. That's what I want to do.
Right.
So we went over to England Volkers with Corey. And when I hit the 15 million mark this year, I said like, okay, it's time for me to go on my own, you know? And again, love them. What better compliment to them than to help me grow my business and be successful. And now I'm taking the solo route.
Wait, so you have a lot of important experiences to grow. I mean, you could write your own little book because you've worked with a builder. You jumped in cold, which I think a lot of agents do. In other words, like didn't interview a bunch of brokerages and all that stuff and found out maybe it was good, but not as good as it could have been. Now, what you know now and what you could share with someone getting into the business. You worked on a team and now you're solo. And these are all different phases of not necessarily every real estate agent's life, but different avenues that you could take, different lanes. And so share us a little bit, because the Southern Latitude team is a good team.
Yeah, they're
not all
team.
teams out there are as good as they are. But what were you able to pull from them? What would you say to someone who's thinking about getting into real estate? You know, should I join a team or should I just, you know, go solo? What kind of advice because I imagine you probably you get this asked all the time, you know, for someone looking to get in the business, or maybe we're talking to someone who has been in the business, been running solo out of Watson or wherever, not getting any guidance that, you know, what's the path to success? What was the benefits you saw from the team? You know, like, so what kind of advice would you give an agent that's in this category?
Well, I think definitely, like, for me, going from such a structure, like, because, I went kind of like structure, non-structure, back to Pulte, which was structured. And so I knew I didn't want to just have nothing. So with Southern Latitude Group, like, we met once a week. And then just to see, you know, they have over 20 years of experience in general real estate. Brian also sold for Pulte in California, so we kind of connected on the builder side of it.
Right.
But just being able to have, like, the mentors to look at, because I came into real estate and was fine. I was successful at Pulte, but I never look at it as I couldn't use help. Right, you can always get better. Right. You can always look up to someone. So I just took that as an experience with them to kind of see what their day-to-day routines were like see systems. Systems are a big thing. They're a lot different than new construction, you know, and then we went over to England Volkers, and now stuff with Christie's has changed. So just kind of having, like, someone to piggyback off on all those things was good. And then on the opposite side of it, like, for people who are on a team, if it's not serving you the way you feel like it is, it's okay to go solo. And if you're solo and you feel like you can't get, you know, under yourself, like you're kind of spinning your wheels, I think it's a wonderful thing to join a team. It all just depends on whatever.
And every team's different.
Every team is different. Every split is different.
Right.
Everything's different. Like, there's no.
You know, because obviously I know there's some teams that really focus on they're buying leads, and those people are in there on the dialers, you know, calling you. They're encouraged because that's the way the team is run. Right. That they're doing so many hours that they're sitting there on the phone. They come in the office and they're working 9 to 11 or whatever it is. I don't think Southern Latitude is quite like that.
No. It's very lax. It's not like that. More family, fun, and make money. That's the atmosphere.
Well,
yeah.
Is he taking on at Southern Latitude, I mean, a really green agent that, you know, he might take on someone who he knows because he knows him and he's going to mentor him up. But really, I've got to get him on the show because, you know, what makes up, like, I know Corey, obviously, he only really looks for agents who have some experience under their belt. Yeah. Because then you can have higher level conversations and coaching versus always coaching someone at a.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for them, but they're probably not someone that would take on an unexperienced agent. Yeah.
They're just running a high level professional, sharing their knowledge, obviously coaching, using the camaraderie, and then you were at it. So when do you meet Corey?
We met Corey summer of 24. Summer of 24, and we made the move the end of July.
Yeah.
I think he's great, I'm obviously, as you're talking to me, I don't, like I said, and then it's nothing offensive, but I feel like a broker is a broker, right? I feel like agents are always, well, who's going to make money off of me, and what's the split going to be? And I'm like, well, that's their job. Like, that's not bad.
Right.
That's their job, is to recruit and get paid.
Right.
That's, and Corey, I think I was excited about moving there just because of everything he offers. Like, we didn't have many meetings and things of that nature outside of our team. So that was exciting. It was exciting to see the monthly meetings. Corey does his every 2 weeks. He has something else. So he's just always.
To me, he comes across. I've been to many sales meetings, and I've been in sales most of my life. And when you have an unprepared sales manager, which is what a broker is for the most part, unprepared, shows up at a meeting and it's like, let's just talk. Right. It's like, you're wasting my time. Yeah. He needs to be the broker to me, or sales manager, whatever you're doing in life, and so has to come and add value. And when that broker no longer adds value, agents are looking.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, our meetings, I can't we have our monthly meetings are 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And when I tell you Corey's down to the minute, and he packs that thing full with everything that you need to know. What are the new updates? What are the adjustments in the contract? What's going on in the market? Everything when you leave there. And one thing that kind of grinds my gears with agents is when they're too busy to attend meetings, because why are you too busy to take an hour out of your day to educate yourself?
Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah. It's not, I think sometimes the word I'm too busy for this makes it seem like you're busy in life, when that's really just being lazy.
I think that one thing I learned when I was at Quicken Loans, they're like, if a customer calls you, send it to voicemail, wait a few minutes, and then call them back. Let them know that you are busy, because when you went there, it was like a slave shop. I mean, you were, hey, how many calls you make today? How many minutes were you on the phone? That sort of thing. And when anyone in life, and you make a commitment, especially one in advance, and I will just put it out there, whether you're promising to have, come to a lunch and learn that I might be putting on, or you're come on the show, and all of a sudden, a day before, you're telling me, oh, I got a listing appointment. Now, I truly understand a listing appointment is important. Right. However, if you want to gain credibility with that person, in my opinion, is you tell them, I have made another commitment. I will be available at this time. Yeah. Can we make that work?
I had you on my calendar since we talked in December. Yep. And again, mom brain is a real thing. So when I was scheduling this week, I was talking with a customer who wants to list their house. And I said, yeah, that's fine. I have a podcast on Wednesday. Let's meet Thursday at 10. And instead of canceling you, I called him back. I made this commitment.
Well, how many times in life that we can look back and say, I really didn't want to go there, but I went there and I'm like, oh my God, I met this person. Yeah. I'm sure your husband's probably had gatherings. He's like, come on over. And you're like, I'm going to go over there. There's a bunch of police officers, I don't know, whatever. But all of a sudden you met some people, and you met another wife or something, and you started talking. You're like, oh my God, I'm so glad I came. You don't know what's under the rock until you turn it over. Right. So when someone invites you to something and you make the commitment in advance, you should hold to that, short of being sick. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned. Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's a psychological thing to tell someone, hey, I'm busy. They're doing business with you because you're busy. Because you are successful, they want to do business with you.
And who'd you say you just had Sarah on the podcast?
Sarah,
who
yep,
said what?
Schwartz.
She answers her phone.
She answers the phone.
She answers
yeah,
her phone.
100%. All right, so let's run through our little trending questions
buddy.
here. All right.
Like I told
Rapid
you,
fire, and we'll cut some good reels. We already got some good reels out of this, but here we go. This is obviously one that might be at one of those parties, cookouts or whatever. Is now a good time to buy a house?
The best time to buy a house is when the numbers work for you.
That's a good answer.
Do not pay attention to the media. Do not pay attention to the bloggers, what's going on Instagram or Facebook. When the numbers are right for you, that's the best time to buy. You may have the most equity in your house to transfer over when the rates aren't the prettiest.
Yeah.
But do it.
Yeah. No, I like the saying, when is the best time to, someone said this to me some time ago, and I've used it enough time. When's the best time to buy a house? Well, like 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So you have to get in the game. Yep. And you have to start paying your own mortgage. It's the only way. If you see real estate as some sort of wealth and for your family, it's because you were in there a long time and you paid the loan down. Now you own the asset, right? Yep. And like I said, if the numbers work and you can get in there, you need to get in the game right away. How much should I offer on a home in a competitive market? Imagine you're doing a lot of listings, so some of your houses are a little hotter than others. You've had some houses probably gone like the first weekend. Others have been hanging there for a few months. So if I'm coming to make an offer right now, what as an agent, should be coaching that buyer as they evaluate the home they're looking at on what's a legitimate offer to get accepted? You follow it?
So I always like to educate on the listing numbers. Okay, so first let's take a look at what listings, like what's the CMA showing? What's the price per square feet for what's sold recently? And then although we don't use the price per square foot, what's active, like going back to those things we talked about, like if the house is $500,000 and we're looking at it to make an offer, but it needs a new roof, it needs a new water heater, those things all come into account. Maybe the house next door is $520,000, but they have a new AC unit and they have an extended lanai with a birdcage screen. You know, so just comparing those things, number one, like especially if it's in a master plan community, within that community, and then also just what's going on in the area. But I think looking at both sides.
Do you, and maybe you've done this on some of your buyer side, but on the seller side, sometimes get the explanation of why they're making the offer at this point, especially if it's lower than what you're listing the house for? Does the buyer's agent say, hey, they want to offer $480 on this $500,000 house because...
Yeah, always with me. But when I tell you I communicate, like when you're especially dependent upon what my sellers expect, like I may have sellers who... this is their 10th home, and they've sold multi-million-dollar properties, and they've sold $200,000 properties, and maybe they don't want open houses, and they don't want a lockbox on their door, and they don't want this. So it's all the whatever expectations I've set with the seller. But when I tell you, like with showings, I'm like reaching out, especially like we love using like home improvement sheets. So I keep those readily available on the MLS. So if my house that I have listed is $50,000 more than what's going in there, then I'm going to say, hey,
new roof, new AC.
Here's my PDF with the price improvements for this property. It's also public on the MLS. Like, here's all the information you need. When you get to the house, let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you'd like me to come for anything.
You're selling it. You're selling it why that house is going for $50,000 more, because it has a new roof, a new AC, and hot water heater where everyone else is about termed out. Yeah. But again, like dependent upon the agent, are they actually looking at all that stuff before they go show it? True.
Are they educating their buyer? So let me help you.
Yeah.
Let me make it easy for you. But creating that relationship up front, yeah, if they submit an offer for $20,000 less, they're saying, hey, Robyn, I did see where you noted X, Y, and Z, but this is why the buyer's doing it.
Right.
You know, and it may be like, I don't really know.
Well, I think that is so important, because you're gaining a relationship of trust, because you are going, hey, here's all the ammunition you need, because when you talk to your buyer, bring him into my house, I just want to let you know, hey, you can check. The roof has been done. This has been done, whatever. The kitchen's only 3 years old, whatever it is. And it's like introducing, obviously you met Tom when you came in. I'm telling Tom, hey, Robyn's coming over. This is who she is. So when he meets you, he already knows he knows where to steer, where he wants our question that's relevant to your level, who you are, and that sort of thing. Right. And I think it's the same thing in doing what you're doing. Yeah. You're introducing the house to them and just letting them know that, hey, you know what, this is a stellar athlete right here. Yeah. They got, everything's new, their knee's been reconstructed and they're the $6 million man, right?
Yeah. And then and it reverts back to like being more poised in new construction, because with new construction, what is your job initiation order for every home is a line by line item. Like, are you going into that property with that mindset of so when they built this home 10 years ago, like, what adjustments did they do to the bath? Like, did they do the gourmet kitchen? Like, do they have built-ins versus all of those things play a role that a lot of people it's just not even a thought.
Yeah. Well, I think that's, you bring up a good point. Obviously, you're well versed on the Pulte neighborhoods and what their models are for the most sake. Yeah. And if you're going to farm a particular neighborhood, it might be good, even if the builder doesn't exist anymore, to go back and learn a little bit about the floor plans that are available throughout that neighborhood if you want to own it. Yeah. This is a good question for you. I've decided to sell. What are the first steps to selling my home?
Well, if I get a phone call like that, which, like I said, I just had one.
We're thinking about selling.
Yeah. My first thing is just to establish a relationship with you. So my first question is going to be why.
Right.
Okay, where are you? What's going on in life? Are you thinking about leaving the area? Are you thinking about staying? What's your strategy? Is there a time frame you need to be out of the home? And then I get into okay, well, let's set up a time for me to come over. So I email actually all the Christie's information to my prospective sellers before I go, so they can take a look at all that. And then when I go, I ask if they have any questions on that. I can pull it up on my computer. And then we go over all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
But I think just getting the why first.
Yeah.
Always digging deeper and seeing what's the emotion in it? What is their plan? Because you may go to a listing appointment, sit down and go over everything and think it's fine and dandy, but then they don't have an exit strategy. Or they have an exit strategy and it needed to be sold yesterday.
Yeah.
So you just don't, have to communicate about that.
100%. What is the timing and everything. So take that question as if, because these are trending questions that are online, as the seller, I've decided we need to sell the house. What should be the first thing that they do? You told me what the first thing you do when they call you, but what should they be doing as the seller themselves? What's the first step they should do?
I always tell people to, again, number one, well, what is your exit strategy? What are your plans? And then before we meet, I go ahead and tell them, okay, let's start making a list. Let's start making a list of everything that you've done to the property. Let's make a list of anything that you readily know may need updating or repairs before you would go live. And then let's talk about the age of all the mechanical systems.
Right.
So that way, once we get together, we can talk about all that. And I feel like when it comes to pricing strategy, again, that takes some of the emotion out of it of okay, well, this is the data. This is what your property shows.
Right.
So yeah, just having them.
So the first thing that you do is really start thinking about that. Obviously, reach out and connect with a top agent like yourself to go through it. But those are the things you're going to be wanting up front. So especially the exit strategy, that's probably, everyone like, okay, what are you going to do if you sell the house? Because
Right.
you if you have a great house, you might get offers next weekend if
Yeah.
you stuck the sign in the yard today.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do in the next 30 days?
Yeah.
You know,
And
type of thing.
you hear often, like with your conversations, like, well, let me get cleaned up, or I'll make sure I have the house presentable. I don't care about that. You
Yeah.
know, like that. Okay, once we get to photos, we'll talk about that. But that's the least of, a good agent. Like, we see past all that stuff. It's
Well,
not-
I think we were talking pre-show, obviously about well, I don't know if I don't know if you and I did. I was talking to someone else. It was at the NEFAR. Kim Knapp was being, as a new NEFAR president, and they were talking, and one of the stats is 88% of home sales had a real estate agent involved. And for sale by owners are like, I don't know if it's an all-time low, but it's gone off.
Yeah.
People are using real estate agents, where with the NAR settlement, we thought everyone was just going to start selling homes themselves, right? They're actually using agents. But that's why you use a top agent like yourself to do that consultation. That's what you're doing, is helping them think of the questions that they need to know so they don't come up at an inopportune time. You already know what the steps are. It runs smoother, less stressful. You can actually continue working and, not be, yelling and screaming at people because you didn't fix something and now all of a sudden the house is going to be shown and whatever it is, right? Yeah, it happens. So great one there. What questions should I ask my agent before hiring them? Oh, this is a good one.
So I think before hiring an agent, how are they? One thing I always do at listing appointments is encourage them to talk to other agents. Like, are they encouraging of that, or are they the best of the best that you don't need any other expertise, right? Because you're not everyone's cup of tea. So, I'm sitting down and I think, what is the communication going to be like? How long do you feel like, based on stats, that it's going to take you to sell my home? Marketing. What are you going to do for me? Marketing, right? Because my thought and what's shown me good so far is to do something new every week, right? Because agents put a house on the market. They may have an open house the first week. It could be a dud. You could have 5 people in. They may do an open house the second week, but what campaigns are you starting?
Right.
What are you investing in the property? What are you starting to show different on social media? What are your plans? What are you doing? Because I think doing something new each week keeps it fresh and just keeps the energy coming towards it, right? To sell it.
Right. Because, as any agent, we would all love to sign that listing agreement, go out and take the pictures, post everything, go live, right? It gets Thursdays today, right, to go live. Yeah. Go live on Thursday. We're having an open house on Saturday. We have a couple of offers, and on Monday morning we have a contract. That's the ideal situation, but it doesn't always happen that way, especially right now. We know that, of course, you've been in new construction communities. There's people that are trying to sell their house in a community that's still under construction, which it's like, I'm sure that pulls your hair out, right? Yeah. And setting those expectations, because don't think the agent wanted to sell it day one.
Right.
And the more you stay out there, and obviously the more they want to still show, it's important to communicate with your seller of the things you're doing. This is what we're going to do this week. When you do have someone that, might be maybe, what's the oldest listing you have right now?
Well,
or maybe you've had in the last 6 months or so.
The one I've had in the last 6 months is actually a new construction.
Yeah.
So we've had a couple fall through on it. So that's why it's still live. But I took on an expired one. So that one is a challenge, right? And then I have a listing right now in a community that only one property has sold in the past year.
Wow.
And they have 12 active. So, challenge accepted, right?
Yeah.
But you know those things, and so
how often are you communicating with them in that situation? Weekly, you're giving them weekly. Is that something you do every Monday morning or something?
I usually do it on the weekends. Yeah. So if I'm holding an open house, after the open house, but other than that, Saturdays, I just say this is the engagement we got on our campaigns this week. I share those numbers. I share any phone calls, inquiries that I've got. They're obviously included in showing time, so they're receiving all of that feedback. And then just what my plans are for the following week.
That house that's in there in the community, they got 12 listed, only one sold in the last year. Are you regularly, not regularly if that's the word, but communicating with the other agents that are listing the other 11 houses that are in there? Hey, what's going on? What kind of feedback are you getting? To kind of be able to talk to your clients and let them know this is what's going on with the other 11 listings in this neighborhood?
Yeah, and it's kind of for that specific community. I think it's kind of known because it's in Silverleaf and it has the new expressway coming through.
Oh.
But it's a specific buyer, just like your active adult communities. It's a townhome community. Mm-hmm. So it's a specific buyer. Like open houses are challenging, right? Because it's a gated community with the codes. And so I still do them every week. Like, in the public remarks, it's to call me for entry. For the other agents that are in there, like I pay attention to their stats. And we had someone on our team who had one in there too. Right. And we have another one from Christie's in there. So I pay attention to that. But like, I know the one that had sold for way less than it should.
Right.
And it's not new construction. I think it's just...
Well, it can only be a handful of years old. How old is it?
2.
Yeah. So, well, take that for... this is a good learning lesson because, obviously, my first thought is because this expressway is going in, okay, now we love our people from New York, but some of them aren't intimidated by that.
No.
They lives in Queens or whatever,
right?
And that's normal.
Yeah.
But this could be a possible investment property. Is it priced to be an investment property, or are those numbers just not there because of the possible, what the rent would be versus what the mortgage would be with someone with 20 to 30% down?
Yeah, and we ran that, right, because I was thinking investor as well. It probably wouldn't make sense right off the rip. Like maybe someone who has a lot of investment properties.
Yeah.
But yeah,
where they're gonna buy and hold. They're gonna buy and hold, and they're gonna rent it out for the next 5 or 10 years, and
then you'd have but right now renting wouldn't cover the fees.
It's not there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's a good and again for that property, what did I do? I started with Zillow Showcase. The views are astronomical compared to others.
Mm-hmm.
It's over 100 and something percent likely to sell more than the others. And then the second week, I started the campaign because we have campaigns we can run on Facebook, Instagram, and Facebook Messenger through Christie's. So I started those, and the views have been great. We had a showing that was wonderful, and it was their top 2, and they ended up picking the other community. So there's nothing, negative that I'm seeing. I just have to keep putting in.
Yeah.
What's my next step?
It'll suit someone's fancy here, hopefully soon.
Yeah.
That's talking about closing costs. That's boring. This is a good conversational piece. And I'm sure this is a question, in fact, because my wife's in the business as well. You probably interact with this and this. Should I buy a new construction home or an existing home?
I think it depends on whatever fits you best.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an answer of one or the other. I myself have built 3 new construction homes. It's just what I like. I like a home that nobody else has lived in.
Right.
I have a good friend who sold her new construction home and purchased a resale that she gutted, and it's beautiful.
Right.
So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. Depending upon situation, could new construction possibly work better for you with a rate buy down or, having the warranties? Maybe. If you can find something, because you will get that with a new build versus maybe a 1 year, right, with resale. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it just depends on the customer.
I think, especially if you got little to no money down, obviously a first time home buyer, maybe, tight on, how many bedrooms you need because your kids or whatever, that situation. Yeah, the new construction right now, obviously, because they can control, because of the volume, they're spending money. They're spending the money you're paying for the house to buy your interest rate down. Right. But it's all about the payment to them at that point.
Right.
Yeah. But if you're looking for, hey, I'm going to buy this and I got a 5 or 10 year plan and I want to make some equity on it, you might want to strategize. Where is that highway going in? Okay, I want to be just so far away from it that the highway's not a factor, but it's a bonus for my house because I can get on the expressway and get into Jacksonville in a reasonable period of time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because Palatka and Green Cove, I think Palatka is the next hidden gem in Florida. When that expressway is actually finished, people are say, oh, inexpensive land, there's a lot of things that you can do out there, that sort of thing, and it's going to open that whole market out there. So someone investing right now, go buy some land, south of Green Cove down to Palatka, because I really think as soon as that bridge is put in, it's going to change the value, which I'm sure from what I understand, obviously there's some developers have already got a lot of land out there and plan future development.
And like you said, it's whatever fits that person, because I have sold a highway community before, backyard. And again, like I always just said, that's a sign of convenience. Like, I myself used to live in E-Town, and I couldn't visually see 295, but I heard it. But I'll tell you what, it was easy to jump on and get off at Gate Parkway and go to the town center.
Yeah, there.
So it's
many over 20 some years ago, because I was an education major, and I was in Deltona, which is just on before you get to Sanford on I-4.
Yeah.
Bedroom community of Orlando, whatever. And I remember there was a lot of transient kids, a lot of people from New York there. Mm-hmm. And one of the kids is like saying, it's like they wanted to move back to New York because that noise of the city it was calming to them. You and I may want perfect, like no noise, but there's others that is a calming, and they don't even know it's there,
right? Unless
someone focuses them on it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a good. How do I pick upgrades and finishes when building new construction?
Ooh.
I'll add because I imagine there's some good things to choose from, but there's also some things that are pitfalls and money wasted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I always say whenever you're visiting the design studio to go timeless versus trendy, right? Because we see a lot of the colors and stuff are out now. Mm-hmm. As far as structural options, like visual, you want your exterior to be eye appealing, right, for the future resale. And then I think it's important. You see a lot of 4s now, right? At least the 4 bedrooms, or having a flex room. I think, it all depends. Again, like I think about listings more, but selling features is going to be per person, right? So think about like when you're doing new construction, do you pick a single story or a 2-story? Like, okay, if you're picking a 2-story, is your owner's suite downstairs? Well, that's fine. But if you're trying to target a small family, like they probably want it upstairs with the rest of the kids.
Possibly. Because up north, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've had several people like that. And that was the reason why I built a new home and left I had a 2-story ICI home, but my owner's suite was downstairs. All my bedrooms were upstairs, and you talk about, like, at the time, a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old, like...
running up the stairs all the time? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a mess. It was a mess, and...
Well, if we look at St. Johns County right now, I would imagine most people, that are moving in there... Now, Grandma and Grandpa are moving in, too.
Right.
To be near to grandkids and this type of thing. So, you mentioned you are working a lot of the adult communities. You're doing a lot of business there.
Yeah.
What would be some simple things that's between marketing to mom and dad in the adult community versus your standard subdivision that's near the great elementary school?
Right. Well, and in St. John's, you're lucky because it's kind of like a melting pot for that. You have a lot of the active adult, and then you have a lot of like the river towns, the Greenbrier, like the Durban area, Shearwater, all of those, Silverleaf now. But you have everything that's like also established and close to. Marketing, like as far as for the active adult side, or?
Like you meant, I think one of the things that if you had the choice, for your personal choice because of the age of your kids, you're like, I want the master suite being on the second level with the other bedrooms would be ideal for your family situation. But would you agree that in Florida, if anything, the bedroom being on the first floor is actually preferred?
Preferred, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, most new, even like new construction plans gauge more towards that. So it's a very small, sample of people that will want that bedroom upstairs. But no, absolutely. Yeah. And then, you're starting to see more of the multi-generational homes too. So people are starting to do that.
I really think one of the, for the thing as far as affordable housing, we've got to be able to, one, zone for the accessory dwelling unit, putting that mother-in-law suite over the garage, whether they're going to rent it out or mom is actually going to live there. That is where we need to start driving. And I would like to see more builders, especially in these, pseudo higher end communities. Obviously a starter home, not necessarily going to have that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And you see Lennar. Lennar has several. They've kind of been known to have those. Pulte has several now out in the community that I live in. But I think it's important. I think that's the way it's going. Because I myself have even thought, like, my mom is down here by herself. And I'm like, what's she going to do? She needs the area.
We can talk for an hour now because, I just had some, unfortunately, my aunt passed away over the holidays. And how that whole structure, and it's like, well, then I'm looking at my immediate family, and lucky my wife's parents and my parents are still alive. Both my parents are in their 80s, and it's like, okay, what is the strategy? What's the exit strategy? One passes away. What if that one passes away before that one? Who's going to live where? Because they're not going to live in a house, a house all by themselves. Typically, now, if you put them close by, they might be fine, but that's another, proximity and how fast and you get over there and that sort of thing. What mistakes do buyers make in purchasing new construction?
What mistake?
What do you think? What would you say the number one mistake is? The biggest thing that, when you were a site agent, because now being on the outside looking in, and you bring someone to new construction, what's like something you want to make sure they either know or they don't do?
So I think
going without an agent, I guess, would be number one.
Yeah, number one, have representation, and not in the sense that the builder's going to do you wrong, and not in the sense that the agent's not for you too. And from an agent perspective, like, the builder's not against you. I think so often, like, an agent feels like they need to go in construction and prove themselves, right? Like, let me get this for free for my customers, or what can I work out? Like, what more savings? Where really you just need to be the voice of reason. You need to be extra support for your customer. So I think that's
help
the biggest
help
thing.
Build the expectations too, because sometimes obviously one person that's doing it all day long, like you said, we have many conversations that site agent may have forgotten to tell them that, hey, this is going to happen. You need to be the one to set that. Hey, remember, this is the timeline. This is what we.
Yeah, just like with like us working together in a mortgage, like we're holding each other accountable. We're piggybacking off each other. We're checking in with each other regularly. Like, be that friend with the agent, because just, in corporate, like, there's pressure on that agent too. You're not their only sale.
Right.
Like, they have to get X amount that month, and they have to take care of not just you, but the rest of the neighborhood.
Well, and everybody else that's in process. Even after closing.
Right.
Yeah, there's the people are still banging on the door.
Oh, absolutely.
Like they're the community management person.
So I would just say, like, in that sense, representation and being educated. Like, knowing the difference between the builders, what each one has to offer.
I'll go. This will be my last formal question here. Okay. But I think the question is, will home prices drop soon? And I want to kind of change that a little bit, so you and I can educate the listeners out there. Rates, right now, maybe you're getting high for basically 6%, give or take, is where we're seeing the conventional rates right now. VA and FHA maybe a little bit lower, but so if you're doing a conventional payment today, someone putting 5 or 20% down, just figure 6% and it'll be close. What are you foreshadowing, especially you're going out, someone's considering selling their home or someone's willing to buy, as far as when it comes to the rate versus the price point of the home? What is your opinion? Let's just say, I'll put the hypothetical out. Obviously, the administration's trying very hard to try to drive interest rates down. Right. So as soon as the rates were to drop, what do you think is going to happen with the price point of homes?
I feel like we're in a healthy market. I don't feel like there's anything wrong with our market. I feel like we're in a healthy market, not an emotional market. Like, we're not COVID. We're not there anymore. So I think, like, the homes that you see sitting that are overpriced, like, do I think home prices are going to come down? No, I don't. I think that the equity, I think that the pricing strategy is there if you're doing it correctly. I think what the problem is that too many emotions are still tied to it when listing. So you're not having that education, that educated conversation with your sellers as far as what's really going on. Because the homes, the first weekend sales gone, maybe they're sitting for a little bit longer, but I know I have a property that's closing today that's in a neighborhood that 93 days was the average on the market. Mm-hmm. Mine sold at 50. So that was good.
Yeah.
That was good. And again, it's just, I feel like the people who are pricing strategically are selling. It may not happen overnight, but they're selling. So I don't think home prices are going to go
a normal
down.
sales cycle, because everyone got used to the COVID, hey, stuck a sign in the dirt and we got offers, and that's not there. I think we also need to sometimes, what's this saying that Garth Brooks says, some of God's unanswered prayers are
the greatest gifts.
Greatest gifts are God's unanswered prayers. Yeah. Everyone would love lower interest rates to get more people in the market and move. There's no doubt. But I think if you're sitting around waiting for rates to go from 6% or 5.875 to 5.25%, in the next month, that would send a shock through the home buying thing. And I think the sellers will either hold price, right. They're not going to give you pay your closing costs, or you might see them go up 10 or 20,000. Yeah. I had a conversation yesterday with a lady. She's coming over from Tampa, and she's like, "Yeah, I was debating whether to rent or whatever." And I was like, "You have the ability to buy. Mm-hmm. You're going to be over here. You're going to have a child. Your family's going to be here. So you've told me you're going to be here for the unforeseen future. It's not a 2-year deal or something like that." Right. And you can get in now, and at that price point, at that size of loan that you're getting on that home, the rates drop 0.5%. Mm-hmm. It's likely we'll probably be able to just do a no-cost refi, which I can show people how to do if you want to give me a call to show you how to do a no-cost refinance. So you're not rolling money in there. You're not setting yourself backwards, and now you got a lower rate and you keep moving forward. Mm-hmm. And there's ways to work the money that way. But it is what it is now. You need to come over, buy the house, because if the rates were to drop to 5.25% next week, you aren't getting seller paid closing costs from the, and then the builders are going to start questioning, we don't have to give up as much, because they're advertising rate, a lot of them 4.99 right now. So 5.25%, and I don't have to put money into it. No, let's do 5. Let's go 5.25%. It's good now. So you're going to limit. So now is the time to buy, because it is leaning towards a buyer side. Mm-hmm. And you can make the offer, whether it's discounted price or getting to pay closing costs for you or whatever it is. It's a buyer's market from that standpoint.
Right.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah.
Agree. Yeah. And I don't, people aren't losing equity. So I don't feel, like your example you just had, still, if she's in a position that she can buy a home, buy the home. Yeah. It's not going to be a negative impact.
Well, when you start looking at the size of home that you need versus what you can rent, you're like, okay, I need all these bedrooms because of the kids, and I want this and I want that. I work from home. Right. You need to, adjust accordingly. Right. Last question, straight to you, sir. Great reel here. Why should someone use Robyn to buy or sell a home?
You should use me because I lead with, I would say, confidence and clarity. Right? I focus on serving. I focus on educating. I focus on being with you through the process and only bringing data. So no emotion in there, no opinions. I just like to be someone who can serve you through the process.
You say no emotion, but I do. The emotion to me is your confidence. Mm-hmm. To me, that rides over to emotion, because you can eliminate the extreme emotions. Right. By dealing with someone who's confident and professional, you come in with the data, you're like, okay, that's the way it is. Yeah. That's what it is. And she knows what she's doing.
I'm big on, mantras, right? I feel like everything is energy. We have a flow of everything. So in our position, right, I'm of service to someone, I guide someone, and the end result is that I have a commission check at the end, right? So my mantra every morning before my feet hit the floor, I say, money flows to me easily and abundantly. And I say that. It doesn't mean that I don't go work my ass off. It doesn't mean that I don't follow up. It doesn't mean that I think everything's just going to come to me, but the right things will align. Yeah. So, and I think so much in real estate is people trying to control, right? With money as the example from my mantra. like money is a form of energy. It flows, always does. So if you're trying to control it, if you're trying to be where it should be, how much I'm going to get.
Flow is too strong to try to bend it.
Yeah, done.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, like just through the whole process. Like it will work out. You're going to have speed bumps, whether you're buying, selling. There's going to be hiccups along the way.
That's why you have a job.
That's why I have a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's 100%.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This may be it for today's episode of Real Estate Excellence, but we both know your pursuit of excellence doesn't stop here. To connect with the best of the best and really take your skills to the next level, join our community by visiting TracyHayesPodcast.com, where you'll meet more like-minded individuals looking to expand their inner circle and their personal experience. That's available at TracyHayesPodcast.com.